Welcome, everybody, to Hanging Out with Howie. With me, I have Alex the Bubble from Cyprus. He's become a good friend over the interwebs here. My road dog, John Cawley, from my cousin from Boston. I was waiting to use that line.
They were basically related at this point.
And
Who is
of
this?
course,
My
the
cousin
one and
from
only
Boston.
Yeah, from Boston, and the one and only Mr. Jay Brennan from Temecula, California.
Hey, everyone. Cheers.
So, Alex, you had a great idea for a topic. Let's hear it.
Okay, yeah, it's so basically is why is the DJ, or how come the DJ is sometimes the last person to be booked? And how I came about that is because I work with various hotels and wedding coordinators, and one hotel I would advertise on their Facebook page my services as DJ Alex. And obviously they have several DJs, not just myself. And brides would then book, say the dance floor from me, but then I'll be DJing somewhere else. And this was causing confusion because the brides would come in and say, oh, yeah, I booked a dance floor or fireworks or this, that, and the other with the DJ. And the wedding coordinators were going, speaking to their DJ that was booked for them, and the DJ would be saying, no, I haven't booked it with me. So it was a bit confusing as to who they booked it with. So they asked me to create a secondary company specializing in just that to advertise on their page. And I did so. So I'm advertising as, Wow Factor Weddings as opposed to DJ Alex, so it's less confusion. Then I started started advertising as Wow Factor Weddings on other DJ pages, wedding pages, and getting bookings through there, and them asking them, oh, by the way, I also DJ. It's not just the dance floors, because they're coming to me as somebody that's supplying dance floors and this, that, and the other. And they said, no, we haven't. We've booked everything else, but we haven't booked a DJ. And I was like thinking, it was a bit surprising because you're booking a dance floor from me, but you haven't booked a DJ yet. You've got the dance floor, you've got the people to fill it, but you haven't got anybody to play the music for. So it just came about, and I thought that so many brides have contacted me and they haven't booked a DJ, but they're booking everything else. So I thought, well, hang on a sec, how can I sort of like take this to my advantage? So by advertising something other than DJ services has been able to get me DJ work before they've even thought about contacting DJs in general. And I just thought it's an interesting subject. Brides, for some reason, are still considering that DJs aren't that important. It's still a secondary thought and not a primary thought, along with, it's even secondary to flowers, catering. Obviously venue is generally the first thing that they think of, but again, it's secondary to photographers or anything else. So it was just an interesting idea that I thought, by going through that avenue, it's a way of sort of jumping the gun when the brides then think, oh, now I've booked the dance floor. Oh, now I should book a DJ, not the other way around.
That's a fair observation. I think we are the last to be hired.
I think videographers are the last.
You think? Oh, well
I've worked with a bunch, and I've said, like, oh, we should try to get in there. Like, dude, I'm the last one to come in if they've got money left in the budget. I'm like, I never thought of it that way. But even in my wedding, the last thing we discussed it as we lined up all the vendors and got down to, if we have enough money left over, let's get a videographer. So I agree with Alex. It's kind of shocking to me that, we're still late in the game. I'm fortunate where I am. Of the weddings I have this year, I think 97% of them are at one venue. And the venue is very clear when people sign the contract. They hand them a list of vendors, and the owner points and says, these are the three, the florist, the photographer, and the DJ I recommend. And they go, oh, okay, we'll give everyone a call. And then she turns back and just says, if I got married tomorrow, these are the three I would hire. Oh, we should call them. And then they'll call the florist, and the florist will be like, do you have a DJ and a photographer? Because these are the two. So we do it to each other. They'll call me first, and I'll say, have you got photo in this? Because this is who you should hire. So I agree with Alex, though. For the most part, it's shocking how late in the game we can come in on it.
Yeah, I've had it where it's like, they, when I gave them the price, they were like, well, that's not in our budget. And I said, well, what do you think is, what is your budget? What do you think is for? Well, we were thinking like $300. And they said, that's all we have left. And I said, well, I'm not your guy. That's, they spent the money elsewhere, and it's, but now
everyone
also
has a priority.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more writing on a wedding. There's a lot more importance than if it was just a birthday party or an anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
It's hall, food, and DJ. It's a very short list, and we can fall as number 2 or number 3. We may even get above the food. But when it comes to a wedding, there's so much else to coordinate. And they're like, oh yeah, we got to get someone for the music, and and it's a whole interviewing process. Flowers, it's like, well, the flowers will show up. There'll be flowers. But a DJ, is this person going to do the announcements right? Do we get along with them? It's more of an interview process. Think because of what's at stake with weddings, I think inadvertently we fall a little lower on the totem pole.
Unfortunately.
That's a super interesting point. I had 2 phone interviews today, both of them non-wedding. One for a birthday party, one for another party. And they were super adamant about how important I was in the chain. One is in 2 weeks, and they hadn't signed the contract yet for the venue. She's like, I'm signing the contract today. So I'm not that late in the game if she's signing the contract now. So this was obviously put together kind of last minute. The other one is in May. And it's a Sunday afternoon, not a huge demand maybe day. But it was interesting to see the dynamics, how different they were than with brides and grooms. And now I'm coming up because of, lockdown. I'm getting emails every day from clients who I've never met. And it's still a weird reality. I used to meet all my clients. But about a year ago, all of a sudden, everyone just went to email. This is the date. Are you available? How much? Good. Send me a contract. We'll talk. And now a year's gone, and I look at the email chain, and it's like, last email was March 20th, 2021. Now it's like, hey, we're getting married in 2 months. Just wanted to talk. I'm like, that's why I sent the email first.
I think the problem is clients don't understand the importance of the DJ. It's a bit like they go to the street with all the restaurants, and they see one restaurant has steak for $10, the next restaurant has steak for $25, and they go, oh, well, $25 is a lot of money, and they go to the restaurant for a $10 steak. They get the steak, looks delicious, all looked good on the on the pictures and everything. They bite into it and realize it's really tough. And then they wish they went to the restaurant next door with a $25 steak, because everybody in there has got this beautiful, soft, delicious steak, And I think that's the issue here. With DJs, they go, well, it looks good and that looks good, but that's cheaper than that one. But why is that DJ cheaper than that one? And they have this idea that, well, DJs, should be this price, Well, there's a reason why some DJs are that price and that price, So they think, oh, well, you know what, $500, that's enough. But they don't do any research as to what they get for $500.
Well, they don't know what they could have had. With a steak, you can next week come back to that other restaurant and go, man, this is so much better than that $10 one. But if you hire the $500 DJ, you have your wedding, some people dance, it goes okay. Like, it's not the best wedding you've ever been to. It goes well. I mean, there were $500 DJs in everyone's market that's on this, show, who will do a good enough job that people leave and go, DJ was good. Yeah, I played some good music. I danced a little. We had a good night. But it's not the wow factor. It's not the, wow, this was, and I tell clients in meetings, I say, I want your wedding to be the wedding that in 6 months or a year, when your friends and family go to the next wedding, they'll look back on your wedding as, I had no idea how amazing that wedding was till I went to another wedding. Because I went from having a $25 steak to having a Big Mac. And I realized, wow, this is the bar. Because that's what's going to get you, me, and everyone else bookings. Because they're going to call and go, man, we went to a wedding last week. The DJ was terrible. What was your DJ's name? He was awesome. My daughter's getting married. It's job security.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right,
And
so
the last
now-
time they hired a DJ too would probably have a lot to do with what they have in their mind for the values. They're like, oh, we did a christening with you like 16 years ago. Now we're doing the Sweet 16 party.
Yeah,
it's been a while, so the
whose
prices have
fault is
changed.
that, John? Is it us not educating? I've always believed it's the DJ's fault that we're not educating clients well enough. We're not getting the message out that there's a grave difference between a $2,000 DJ and a $500 weekend warrior who has every right to go out and make a living on the weekend because he has a full-time day job and he wants a little scratch. And I get that. And he should have that opportunity. But then be upfront. And I tell people, this is the sole way I pay the bills. I have a lot more riding on the line.
Sure. And that guy, he's only got like 4 hours a week to invest in being a DJ. And then the 4 hours he goes and plays because he's working 40 hours a week.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it doesn't make people bad, but I think, you know, look at Alex. I mean, Alex has more gear than any of us, you know, and I know that initially it's splitting off and renting, and it's like, I mean, he's able to run 2 different companies simultaneously, when the reality is the best thing a bride could possibly do is hire the one guy that's got everything.
Right.
And not worry about, you know, I've got a chocolate fountain from DJ J, I got the bar from DJ John. I got a dance floor from DJ Alex. And I got uplighting. I mean, I've done those weddings where literally I walk in and I'm looking around the room and there's uplighting from an uplighting company. I'm like,
their movie start.
Where did the uplighting company
7
come
o'clock
from?
almost, kind of.
I didn't even know that they had uplighting companies in my market. And I'll go over to the coordinator and be like, hey, you got the sheets. What did they charge them for uplighting? She'll go through and be like, oh, it's $1,800. I'm like, are you kidding me? They have like 18 lights around the room. $1,800? And some of them are so far away you don't see them.
Yeah, I never understood that unless it's marketing. That's all they do. I know that there's one where they'll mail you the uplights, and then single color that you tell them what color you want, they program it, and it's static, and then as long as you mail it back. But I'm thinking, we have this stuff,
right?
Why are But in all fairness, typically this is their first time doing a wedding or an event like that, and
Sure.
even if it's their second, they really don't know what they're doing.
They don't remember.
Especially if they're they haven't hired a planner of some sort.
It's that educating. I was on a call with a planner and a bride 2 weeks ago. Bride hired me, and the bride said that the hotel, and I'll say the brand, it was a Hilton, had already told her, we do lighting, we can do this, this, and this. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what, this is what I offer at this fee, or you can certainly go with the Hilton, but I can promise you it will be considerably more money. She's like, okay, well, I've got this coordinator on site. And she goes, can we talk in an hour? And both the coordinator and I were both open. I said, sure. An hour goes by. She calls back. She goes, whatever you want to bring, I'll pay you. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
she goes,
because
I called the Hilton.
outrageous.
They wanted $2,000 for uplighting. I'm like, did they say how many lights? She's like, they said they would fit the room with what it needed. I'm like, you have 100 guests. I could do 9 lights and make that room pop, because one side of the room is mirrors, is windows. The other 3 walls are brown. I go, I can do amber on 3 walls and make it look fantastic.
Right.
And my charge to you for the 9 lights I want to do around that is $250. Yeah, no, do it, please. I can't believe I even questioned it. I'm like, no, you've got to do your due diligence. But this is the issue: is you know what? Within a year, hotels will have light up dance floors and cold sparks and hazers, and at what point does the hotel say, hey, you know what? And you guys, whether you know or not, I used to work for a yacht company. We were getting married on the boat. We didn't have to worry about a cake, flowers, and we had all of that in house. So you signed the contract, everything was in the contract. They'd call me and be like, hey, you're our DJ. I'm like, great, can't wait. So how far are we away from hotels saying,
Well,
let's do it all?
actually, well, I disagree there, because when it comes to having your cold sparks, dance floors, and things like that, you have to be skilled to a point to be able to look after it. You know, dance floors are expensive because they're very high maintenance. You know,
Right. But hotels would rather try to make money.
Hotels will be like, "Oh, the panel stopped working. What should we do?" And they'll be like, "I don't know. I just put it on the floor." You know, or cold sparks. Where do we? You know, is there somebody that's going to be dedicated to making sure that they've got the supply of the powder, for example? You know,
Right.
Where do they buy it from? You know,
They need people on the tech
are they going to
side.
have somebody trained enough to be able to use something as simple as the remote control? But then you're going to have another company come along and go, well, you know what, we're going to line up 5 units across here, and as you walk down, we're going to program them so as soon as you go past each unit, they're going to go off one after the other. You know, and that's the company that's skilled in doing that, as opposed to hotels are just like, hey, John, put those fireworks out, and be like, okay, no, John, you've got to plug them in. Oh, okay, nobody trained me up on that bit. You know?
Yeah, but
So,
Alex, you've worked in enough hotels to know that a hotel is dumb enough sometimes to see dollar signs over what they need to do. I did a wedding at a Hilton years ago, and the bride bought lighting through them. 2 track spots hanging off the ceiling, a couple of park hands, and then white park hands around the room. And they very clearly came in and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's this hog board, which was huge. This is how you run it. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, I'm not running the board. And the guy from the lighting company in the hotel said, what do you mean? I said, these are your lights. I'm not going to be responsible. If a light falls, someone will blame the DJ. Well, they're not your lights. I said, that's why I'm not running the board for you. And they had to bring a tech in, which they weren't happy about. And I swear to you, I did the bride's wedding, her sister, and her brothers. I've done all 3 of the family members' weddings. Within an hour of the night, the 2 slow-moving track spots, one stopped. They had 1 track spot, 2 park hands, and 6 uplights around the room. She paid over $2,000, and the guy on the board, and he was sweating bullets. And I looked at him and I said, bro, I'm really sorry, but these aren't my lights. I'm not going to control your hog board, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a massive lighting board.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
which I didn't understand. But it just shows that.
Style.
Right. But this is probably 12 or 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, wow. I was ready to put up a little truss and a T-bar and have a couple of cool little lights, and it would have looked really cool. We ended up with 1 track spot with no haze, no atmosphere, just doing a goofy pattern. And that's, I agree with Alex. I don't know that they'll go to that extreme, but I think there's always somebody in the middle trying to make a buck off the wedding, unlike who's committed.
Yeah. I've seen it in my market around here with the large name hotels, like you mentioned, or like the more upscale country clubs, where they actually have an AV department. And the one client that I was working with asked me, my advice. I said, yeah, we need a DJ, but now, we're going to be doing, using their outdoor gazebo, and the in-house AV wants $1,500 for a microphone and a speaker and a stand for the ceremony. And I said, well, I do all that. Here's what my package is and what it includes. And she was shocked. But in-house AV for the bigger hotels is very expensive, very expensive.
Well, and I think one of the important things, and this is advice to anyone watching this or anyone that runs into this, there are some venues where I live where they have a gazebo. It's behind the tent that they do the wedding in, and they have speakers and a huge rack of amps and mixing boards, and they provide the mics. And I tell every client that I've ever worked with there, if I'm going to do the music for the ceremony, I have to do the microphones. And they look at me and they go, oh, no, you don't. They already have them. I said, and they won't sound any good. I've worked there. I've been there watching where I did reception and not ceremony, and the mics were terrible. They are people that work at a hotel chain. They are not AV. You can call people AV. That doesn't mean anything.
No,
you can call people DJ. That doesn't mean anything. If you're a plumber, an electrician, a contractor, you got to be licensed, bonded, and insured. We don't. There's no standards. So I just simply say, I'm not being cocky or rude, but if you hire my services for the music, I have to do the microphones. Because otherwise, what will happen is when the microphones don't sound good that I'm not doing, I can't get on the mic later and go, hey, everybody, I just want to let you know I didn't let the bride and groom down. That was the, I mean, it would be a mess. And they look at me and they go, so you'd rather take responsibility for everything? Yes, because I promise it will work.
Yes.
I promise it will sound good. I promise it will look good. If I'm responsible from the first word to the last song, then let me be responsible for that. And let me do it with gear I know that works. I shudder when I hear the venue's got their own mics. And you show up, and there's some poor 19-year-old kid who was last week was a valet, next week he's a busboy, but this week he's an AV tech. And he can't figure out how to unscrew a Shure handheld to get the battery in. And I'm like, and if it goes south, the families, everyone's like, I'm paying 50 grand, and this DJ's terrible. Did you hear the sound?
They're gonna look at you. You have nothing to do with it, right?
and you can't. But that's my point, John. That's why I say, if you get hired at a venue, it's very easy to go, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to do this reception. I don't even have to worry about this. I'm set. No big deal. This is gold. I'm good. No, the other way around. If you're the DJ for an event and they're doing bits and pieces through somebody else, maybe not a dance floor like Alex and maybe not fireworks, but if it's music and microphones that are genuinely our responsibility, then tell your client, please, this is my client. This is what I would like to do. This is what it would cost you. This is what the package is. And the reason being, I'm guaranteeing it. You're getting somebody who's worked all day in the hotel to run out here and hope they know the board. Hope they know what to do. Because if your mic goes out in the middle of the ceremony, I can't help you then. It's too late. So I've not learned the hard way, but I've learned by watching, being old and mature enough to understand, we get blamed for everything. It's like screwing up the bride and groom's intro name. That's near impossible for the bet. You could party for 5 hours after that, 6 hours after that. Somebody's still leaving. They're going, man, what a great night. But remember when the DJ said the wrong name?
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't just roll off. Absolutely.
No. They're renting hard stuff like Alex, which I think is brilliant, that he's running two businesses simultaneously into the same venue. That's fine. Nobody's looking at a dance floor going, man, two of those pixels are out in the corner. This is ruining the day.
Right.
No, that's not ruining the day.
That's me, That's me. Even when I see other people's whatever, dance floors or this, that, and the other, you guys probably know, maybe it's just me, but I go to nightclubs and the first thing I do, I'm staring at the ceiling trying to work out what brand of lighting it is, what model it is, things like that. And my friends say, like, are you okay, Alex? Yeah, why? It's like, we thought you might have taken something. Why is that then? Well, you just spent most of the night just staring up at the lights. You weren't dancing or anything. You just stared at the lights all night as if you'd been smoking something. I was like, no, I was just, they had the Chevy there, or the American DJ there. I wondered what
getting in the
that
mindset
was.
To troubleshoot in case something goes wrong.
I found a light last week in Vegas. I'm staring at it and I'm moving it on the trussing. And Anna from Chavez walks. It's a Chavez light. Anna from Chavez walks over. She goes, "You like that?" And I'm moving it around the ceiling. I'm like, "This is awesome." And I kept staring at it. People walking by going, "Hey, Jay, I look like I was Rain Man over here." I'm like,
the lights.
I'm like, I got to get this. I know exactly where I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it in a corner. It's going to look like a waterfall coming down the corner wall. This is brilliant. But that's because we care, Alex. We care. We want to look better and different. and I hate to say it, but sometimes it doesn't take much effort to look better and different than everyone else that comes through there, because it will come back to you. The wedding with all the Hilton lighting, that's a coordinator I've known for 20 years. Probably done 20 weddings with her. And she kept singing my praises on the phone. She's already hired. She doesn't have to praise me to her client. But boy, it certainly made it nice and easy. Certainly felt good to hear. And afterwards we spoke privately. It's like, I'm so excited. I haven't worked with you in like 2 years, COVID, yada, yada, yada. You know, that's the ultimate goal. Have people do the work for you that are like, don't make a mistake and hire somebody else. You know? And like Howie was saying earlier before we even went on, you know, you rent gear to the venue. What about those cases where I go, I'm going to Cyprus to do a wedding. I need one of those dance floors. Oh, I can get one from Alex.
Right.
Or, you know, Alex knows somebody coming to Southern California. And it's like, yeah, my friend's like an expat. They're getting married outside of Los Angeles in this winery town called Temecula. Wait a second. I'll call John C. See if he'll fly to LA and drive down to Temecula. But, you know, just saying, you know, it could be like, oh, wait, Jay lives there. You know?
I think the other thing about hiring equipment is I've had in the last month, I've had 2 clients say, oh, we're bringing music because, by the way, for those who don't know, I do destination weddings. So most of my clients are from the UK, even though I live in Cyprus. And they said, oh, yeah, we're bringing this saxophone player. We're bringing a guitarist. You know, can you plug into your equipment? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, why not then? Well, because if something goes wrong, you're not going to have the musician and you're not going to have the DJ either, you know. So, you know, but don't worry, I've got, you know, XYZ mixer, speakers, blah, blah, blah. I'll set them up, stands, etc. They can plug into that. Anything goes wrong, don't worry. I'm there as a backup.
I mean, I get they're traveling, but it's, I always tell clients, if they're professional, when they say, yeah, we're going to hire a guitarist and a woman to sing for the ceremony, I'm like, oh, well, if they're professional, they'll provide their own PA and amplifiers.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
I think they mentioned
guys are coming from the UK.
I'm like, yeah. Well, hey, Alex, I can go to Boston tomorrow to do a wedding. I have to hire gear. I can't assume that, you know, well, I just show up with a controller under my arm. You guys have the speakers, right? No. Oh, I got to hire those? Just like a saxophonist.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're, and by the way, my comment to the client is, if you're paying him to fly from the UK,
exactly,
probably paying him good money, probably getting him a hotel. He's got some coin left in his pocket. He's got a couple rubles or whatever you guys spend over there. He can simply go rent an amplifier. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Come on. The guys spend out ballet did that.
Yeah, but I'll say to them, okay, no problem. Is this amount to hire the equipment? And they're like, really? It's like, yeah. It's like, but why can't? And he's like, no, I've explained. This is why you can't plug into. And sometimes it's almost like I've been offensive to them, as to say like, no, they can't plug into my equipment. You know, well, first of all, my equipment isn't set up for live musician. I'm a DJ. My equipment is set up for a DJ. You know, a live musician or a singer is not going to want to sing through my DJ mixer, no matter how good the mic inputs are. You know, because it's not a mixing desk. It's not designed, you know. No musician turns up with a whatever Pioneer, Denon, Newmark, whatever, you know, DJ controller to sing.
You stopped at just one next time, Alex. I'm just saying.
It's going to burn all the bridges.
I think I told you guys, I did a wedding in October, and the mother of the bride came up, and she goes, my niece has the most beautiful voice. She has a song on Spotify right now. And I, like, look it up. Yeah, and it's like every other word is like an F-bomb. And I'm like, whoa, it's like a trappy type track. She's like, is there any way just could she sing later? I said, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I only brought speech mics tonight. My karaoke mics are at home. These mics are only set for speech. And she's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. Now I'm the expert. She walked away, told her. The girl came up. She goes, yeah. So, like, I thought I was like, speech mics, not karaoke. Well, it's not karaoke. Like, if you could download, I'm like, that's illegal. No, it's my track. I'm like, are you on a label? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that would be breaking the law. But the speech mic part is the one that kills me, because I say it all the time. Hey, any way we could get some karaoke up in here later on? I'm like, speech mics.
Speech mic.
They are. I almost feel like writing speech on the side of all my mics, just going, I have karaoke.
Flat EQ setting, just it's all.
Yeah. So sorry. See?
No Tony.
Jeez.
Yeah.
For talking only.
I mean,
Well, and I'll tell you,
we're laughing because, you know, a microphone's a microphone.
well, yeah, but I'll tell you guys
Away the trade
later.
secrets.
Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. I got the topic for later on off air. And if I'll throw this out there, it's sort of on and off topic. I have a wedding coming up where they've requested 5 hours of music. The slowest song they've requested is a Cascade song. Everything is pure EDM. Duke Dumont for dinner with Swedish father-daughter dance is "Don't Worry Child" by Swedish House Mafia or Bob Sinclair. No, "Don't Worry Child" is Swedish House Mafia.
Yep.
That's the father-daughter dance.
Wow.
And out of nowhere, the groom says to me today, hey, you know, want to talk and this and that. By the way, the best man is a DJ. He's played at, and they name like the 3 biggest clubs in LA. It'd mean a lot if he could play later in the night and do a set. So I sent a response very quickly. I was like, hey, yeah, let's plan to talk next week one night. We'll pick a day, I've never let anyone DJ on my equipment due to insurance / liability / the fact that it's my full-time business, and I have a relationship with the venue where we've made agreements about music. So we can certainly talk about this, but, you know, right now I can't really answer you. Because traditionally, in 25 years, I've never let anyone play at a gig on my gear. I've let grandma go wiki
like
wiki.
grandma. I've done that where they
and
for a picture they
right.
like pretend act. You know,
and he's like, "Oh, I totally understand. We'll talk about it. Yeah, it just would mean a lot to us." I totally get that. I totally understand that. But that's where he brings gear and speak, because that's more or less what I'm going to say. You know, and my line back was, "We'll discuss it if we move forward on it. I just have to have an addendum to the contract, because at that point I need that DJ to have his own liability insurance. I need a written guarantee there's no swears. I need, you know, all and people
confirmation he's not going to pin all your EQs.
Right, and that's the thing. And the understanding that I would stand directly next to him, like a kid, like a babysitter, because and again, when I get them on the phone, it'll be easier for me to explain and just say, guys, I have no doubts that your best man is the greatest DJ since sliced bread. But I've done weddings where John Digweed walked up and said, great gear, and then walked away. This isn't a club setting where you just abuse the gear. I have to feed my wife and kids and everything. Like, this is my professional job. Now, somebody very young or somebody who's loose or maybe a weekend warrior is going to hear me say all this and go, what an idiot Jay is. He's such a jerk. Just let the dude jam. Let him rock some tunes. And when he's up there drunk and spills on your mixer and plays the F-bomb 6 times, and the venue goes, hey, you have 44 more weddings here? They're all canceled. We're not going to let you play here. And now I got to spend $3,000 on gear and I'm out of work. Could it happen? Absolutely.
Sure.
It could.
No one's going to treat our gear the way that we treat our gear. That's the curse of the rental, is when you let it out of your control.
No.
No one can run my lights like me. No one can run your lights like you, Howie or Jay.
Well, you know what? And here's the best part, because I know my clients don't watch this show. Here's all I got to do. I've already got my way out. It's going to be if he's playing those clubs, he's playing off sticks. Or if he's going laptop, he's probably going Serato. So all I got to do is make a left turn and go, oh, okay, well, here's the problem. This gear only uses record box. like in my head, I'm already coming up with ways to defeat this. You go, oh, well, you know, if he wants to bring gear and speakers, I mean, that's a lot of work. Because that happens all the time. My brother plays guitar. Can he plug in? No.
Plug into what? Don't you know? I mean,
like, he's got to bring, and, you know, once in a while you get a real pro that's like, hey, my brother's going to play guitar later. He's bringing an amp and his guitar. Can he possibly just use a mic to make an announcement? Sure.
Yeah.
The bride of the brother? Sure.
The speech mic, right?
It's the speech mic only. But it's that whole And again, it goes back to what I said a little while ago about education. Like, how do we collectively as an industry educate clients to understand the gear that's used once a week in the garage is better than the gear that's used for 12 hours a day in the Cafe La Bamba at the hotel, sitting in the sun, baking and getting sticky from margaritas and salt. And that's the same gear that the hotel AV guys got to push out on the beach to do your ceremony. And you wonder why it sounds a little weird.
That it works, yeah.
So, you know, to Alex's point, it's not only about renting the gear and getting the gear, it's knowing that the gear is purposely built for the event. We've all seen those goofy videos that probably 5-6 years ago, the famous like, oh, they're bringing an iPod or an iPad and they're plugging it into a speaker for the first dance, and you know, the bride's cousin comes up and changes the playlist, and now no one can figure out how to find the song for the first dance. And, you know, I don't want to scare my clients into liking me because they see the worst case scenario. I just want them to understand that all wedding DJs are professionals. All wedding DJs have their best interest at heart. So until we clean up the market, until we get everyone on the same page, we're always going to fight this uphill battle of we become the last one to get hired and we're the least respected, but we're the most important on, usually, at the success of the event. You can join me next week on my podcast. We're going to be showing up some stuff.
That's it.
Don, I'm going to let you take us out with some final thoughts. Go ahead.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, top bat. Go ahead. Top bat, kid.
Yeah, that's pretty good, Jay.
Go ahead, kid.
Oh, the big scheme of things, you know, we want to be out with our gear. I mean, if they're going to rent lights from the hotel, I'd rather have it be part of my package because I can control the outcome. You know, just like you control the music, you control the mics, you control the sound. You're in charge of the whole operation. Nothing's going to go south on you. The big picture is that everything is going to work beginning to end. And it's part of the whole thing. If Bob from Bob's Lighting is doing his thing and he sends someone who doesn't know my music and his light shows out of sync what I'm trying to do, it spoils the vibe. You know, it's not complete. Yeah. You know, it's our signature. It's our thumbprint beginning to end. And I think we should just really have the total control over it when possible. If you're renting gear for a little side income, let it go make money for you while you're sitting at home. But if you have the chance to really incorporate everything into the big package, I think you'll make a much bigger punch and really make a statement when it's all you, 100% you.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Alex, for the topic. And we'll see you next week.